It's a good time of year for a Munich Dunkel, so I made some. If you'd like to see how it turned out for me, stick around and I'll show you. Hello there and welcome back. So this video is about my Munich Dunkel experience. I never brewed one before, and I decided the fall, a great time of year, September, Oktoberfest is in season. I made an Oktoberfest or Märzen style beer already about a year ago on this channel for this time of year. Didn't want to do it again, didn't want to duplicate that. I wanted something different. So I put a survey out there for you guys to answer, a poll basically on YouTube, asking you which kind of beer I should make. And I had a few options there. I think a brown ale was one of them as well. And Munich Dunkel wasn't even on this list. It was a suggestion down in the comments on that post that said, hey, why not try Munich Dunkel? So I said, hey, I never made one. It's been on my to brew list for probably close to 20 years. So I said, why not? It's kind of like a brown ale. It's kind of like an Oktoberfest. It's a lager. It's Oktoberfest season. It could pass for a fest beer. In fact, they do serve that at the Oktoberfest festivals, if I'm not mistaken. I've never been to Munich, so I don't know, but that's just from what I understand about history and things. So I did it. I did a brew day, I think early September. I had some people over behind the scenes helping me here with a new system called the BrewEasy. And it's actually sitting right here next to me over my shoulder here. I did a brew day video where I showed you some highlights. It wasn't really necessarily a brew day video. It was more of a overview of the BrewEasy. But if you haven't watched that yet, you can go back after this and go check out some of that there to see how that day went. But basically, I made a 10-gallon batch, and I got two samples here. Let's see, I got a Bavarian. Well, first of all, it was a 10-gallon batch I brewed on the BrewEasy. I decided to ferment it in two different 5-gallon batches. So I fermented one batch in the FermZilla and the FermZilla All Rounder for the first time. I used that, and I have some comments about that fermenter I'd like to make a separate video on, hopefully sooner than later. And the other half was done in my Spike Brewing Flex Plus. When I split them up, I put two different yeast strains in them. So my first yeast strain was a Bavarian Lager by Wyeast, the 2206. And the other one was the Munich Lager from Wyeast, the 2308. So I don't know if I can bring them up there to show you a little bit of side-by-sides there, if it will focus. Yeah, anyway. So I poured a couple of samples here. Now, this is not a blind taste testing. I've been drinking this beer for about a week and a half now already. And in fact, I'm amazed I still have some left. Some unfortunate news here around my house is I actually had planned to throw a pretty fun Oktoberfest party at my house a week ago. And I had 10 gallons of Munich beer, the Munich Dunkel brewed up for that party. I thought that would have been all gone that day. So unfortunately for me, probably fortunately for you in this video, that didn't happen. I had to cancel my party because a sewer line broke, and we had some backup in our house, and we can't throw a party if people can't go to the bathroom, right? So anyway, so a week later now, I still have the beer. In fact, I gotta drink a lot of this beer on my own, but boy, problems, huh? All right, so I drank both of these a lot over the past week and a half or so. And I do have an opinion. It's funny, at first you start to drink these beers and you drink the first one, you think it's awesome. And then you drink the other one, you think it's awesome too, maybe better than the first. And then you drink that one for a bit and you go back to the first one, you're like, oh, I like the first one again. So I've been going back and forth, but I think I finally made a definitive decision yesterday. For those who were curious what my preference was for the yeast strains, although the Munich Lager strain is very good and clean tasting, the beer to me tastes a little bit more full-bodied and creamy, I guess, whatever you want to call that. It's a little grainy, maybe a little too malty. But hey, if I didn't know any better, I would love this. But I did know better. I actually did have my other keg of the Bavarian Lager yeast. And that one actually turned out to be really good, much better after a lot of taste testing, of course. And it's got more of a clean finish on it. It's more neutrally flavored. It makes the lager taste more like a lager with less of a malt backbone. Still there, but a little less. You know, much smoother and lesser of an aftertaste. Yeah, clean tasting. Good tasting too, but just not as clean as the other. Got a little bit of aftertaste there on the back of my tongue there. So anyway, the recipe, if you were curious, I'll put it on screen. A Munich Dunkel is largely a grain bill almost entirely made out of a dark Munich malt. I put some other malts in there just to brown out a little bit, give it a little bit of an extra color and flavor. The dark malt, if I recall, was not dark enough. It was, I think it was only 10 or 20 Lovibond, you can see on screen there. And the color wasn't right in the quite in the right range I wanted to, so I threw a little darker malt in there to darken the color. And it turned out great, right? You can see it might be a little dark for some of your palates or your or whatever, but it's within the BJCP guidelines, and it's good tasting. I was never much about color anyway, but it's called a Munich Dunkel for a reason. Dunkel meaning dark, a dark lager, and that's what I got here. So totally awesome beer. But you know, before I go, these plastic cups, little half portions, just don't cut it for this time of year. I mean, Oktoberfest requires larger volumes of beer. So I'll be right back. All right, that's better. Cheers. Now that feels like Oktoberfest. All right, well, I'll put the recipe down in the video description down below, and go ahead and copy it, whatever. It's a good recipe. Apparently I poured me a tall one here, so it can't be that bad. Okay, that's it for today. Talk to y'all later.